Twelfth Night, a Shakespeare story. Retold by Andrew Matthews and read by Jonathan R. Thompson. Sebastian and his twin sister, Viola, were as alike as two raindrops. They had the same light brown hair, bright blue eyes and winning smiles. Sometimes, when they were children, Viola used to borrow Sebastian's clothes and pretend to be him, which confused everybody. The twins grew up together, were taught together, and they almost died together. That was on the day the ship in which they were travelling foundered on a treacherous reef and sank. Viola saved herself by clinging to Sebastian's clothes trunk and was washed up on the coast of Illyria. As she was a practical, quick-thinking person, Viola decided she would be safer if she disguised herself as a young man. So she tied up her hair, dressed in clothes that she took from her brother's trunk, and called herself Cesario. She prayed that Sebastian had survived the shipwreck, and for 3 days she sought news of him. But then her money ran out, so, still disguised as Cesario, she found a job as a page to Duke Orsino, ruler of Illyria. Orsino was delighted with his new page, and before long Viola had won his confidence, and he had won her heart. The Duke was tall, dark, handsome, rich, and popular with his people, and yet he was not content. He moped about his palace during the day, and in the evening listened to troubadours singing sad songs. He never laughed, and hardly ever smiled. Like many young women before her, Viola found herself falling in love with Orsino, and it was painful to keep her feelings a secret. The pain became even worse when, one day when they were alone together, she summoned up the courage to ask why he was so unhappy. "Because I am suffering from the worst sickness in the world. Love," Orsino replied. "I'm so in love with Countess Olivia that I don't know what to do, Cesario. I've asked her to marry me 12 times, but she keeps refusing." "She must be mad," said Viola. "If you asked me to, if I were a woman, I would marry you at once, my lord." Orsino sighed. Then suddenly he had an idea that seemed so brilliant that for a moment he looked almost happy. "You know, Cesario, I think you could gain Olivia's trust as quickly as you have gained mine," he said thoughtfully. "Go and see her today. Tell her that if she won't marry me, I'll waste away and die." "Me, my lord?" gulped Viola. Orsino placed his hand on Viola's shoulder. "You're my last hope." "So, I must try and persuade Countess Olivia to marry the man I love," Viola thought ruefully. "Why does life have to be so complicated?" Though she did not realize it at that moment, Viola's life was about to become more complicated than she could possibly imagine. Countess Olivia's parents had died when she was still young, and her uncle, Sir Toby Belch, had come to live with her. Sir Toby was short and plump, with white whiskers and twinkling blue eyes, and his love of wine and good food had turned his nose bright red. His closest friend was Sir Andrew Aguecheek, a man with a face as long and wrinkled as a bloodhound's. Since Sir Andrew was a bachelor, Sir Toby had decided that he would make the perfect husband for his niece, Olivia. However, Olivia's steward, Malvolio, protected her from all unwanted suitors, including Sir Andrew. On the day that Orsino sent Viola to plead with Olivia, Sir Toby and Sir Andrew were plotting together in the library of Olivia's house. "If I could only be alone with her for 5 minutes," Sir Andrew grumbled. "But Malvolio will not let me see her. He won't even give her my letters." "My niece has given him far too much control of her affairs, and it's gone to his head," grumbled Sir Toby. "Why, the other evening the scoundrel actually had the impudence to tell me that I drink too much." "The villain," said Sir Andrew. "But I intend to teach him a lesson," Sir Toby said with a mischievous grin. "Mark my words, old friend, Before the day is over, Malvolio will be out of your way." While her uncle schemed in the library, Olivia was strolling in the garden with Malvolio at her side. With his skinny body and black clothes, Malvolio resembled a bony shadow. "A young man called Cesario wishes to see you, my lady," he was saying to her. "He brings a message from the Duke Orsino." "Tell him to go away," said Olivia, and her green eyes flashed as she tossed her dark red hair in irritation. "I have, my lady," said Malvolio, "but he says he will stand at the gate all afternoon if he has to." Malvolio sniffed haughtily. "He is a most insolent young fellow." "Oh, let me see him then," Olivia said warily. "Perhaps when he hears my reply, Orsino will finally abandon all hope of marrying me." When Viola entered the garden, Olivia pretended to be interested in the blossoms on a rosebush and gave Orsino's new messenger no more than a glance. "Sweet lady," said Viola, "now I see how beautiful you are. I understand why my master is so in love with you." Olivia, who hated flattery of any kind, snorted scornfully. "Beautiful," she said. "I have 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth like everybody else, if that's what you mean." "Ah, so you are proud as well as lovely," said Viola. "It is a pity that the Duke loves a lady with such a hard heart." "Orsino doesn't really love me," Olivia declared. "He's just in love with the idea of being in love. Go and tell him that I cannot make myself love him just because he wants me to." She looked up from the roses, and as she did so she saw quite the most beautiful young man she had ever met. Her head swam giddily and her heart began to pound. "Tell Orsino that I will never marry him," she said breathlessly. And then, "Come back to see me at once, Cesario." "Why?" frowned Viola. To tell me how he responds to my answer," Olivia said with a blush. Viola bowed and turned to go, leaving Olivia alone with a whirlwind of thoughts and feelings she had never experienced before. One moment Olivia wanted to laugh out loud, and the next she wanted to burst into tears. She was so confused that she did not notice Malvolio approaching. He seemed to drop out of the sky and land in front of her. "I hope that young man did not offend you, my lady," Malvolio said. "Offend me?" said Olivia. "Why, no, I mean, yes, he did." On impulse she pulled a ring from one of her fingers. "He brought me this gift from the Duke. Return the ring to Cesario and tell him I don't want it." "Of course, my lady," Malvolio said smoothly. "Where is the fellow?" "Gone," said Olivia. "If you run, you'll soon catch up with him." "What? Run? I?" gasped Malvolio. Then he bowed politely as he saw the angry green fire in Olivia's eyes. "I'll go at once," he said. Viola walked slowly. Her heart was heavy for Orsino and herself, and when a voice from behind called out, "Cesario!" for a moment she forgot that it was the name she had given herself, and did not remember until the voice called out again, "Cesario! Ho there!" Viola turned and saw Malvolio running towards her, his elbows sticking out and his knobbly knees pumping up and down. This was surprise enough, but Viola was completely astonished when Malvolio offered her a ring. "You brought my lady this," he panted. "Now she wants you to take it back." "I didn't give her a ring," said Viola. Malvolio peevishly stamped his foot and threw the ring to the ground. "Let it lie there, then," he snapped. "I have better things to do than argue with the likes of you." He turned on his heel and marched angrily away. Viola stooped and, picking up the ring, saw on it a design of 2 hands holding a heart. "But this is a love token," she thought. "Young women don't send love tokens to other young women." The truth fell on her like an avalanche. "Oh no," she cried. "Olivia thinks I'm a man, and she's fallen in love with me." Orsino was alone when Viola found him. He was singing a song about doomed lovers, and how, no matter how brightly the sun shone, somewhere the rain was sure to be pouring down like tears. Viola waited until the song was over, then told Orsino what Olivia had said. Orsino closed his eyes. "Ah," he groaned tragically, "if you knew what agony love can be, Cesario." "Oh, I do, my lord," Viola said. Orsino unpinned a brooch from his doublet and handed it to Viola. "Then go to Olivia again," he said. "Give her this brooch and tell her that even though she will not be my wife, my love will last as long as the diamonds that are set into it." Meanwhile, Malvolio had returned to the garden. Olivia was not there, but as he hurried towards the house to find her, he found a letter lying on the path and picked it up. "Why, this is my lady's handwriting," Malvolio murmured. "Since I am her steward and her business is my business, it is my duty to read it." He was so interested in the letter that he failed to see Sir Toby and Sir Andrew hidden in a bank of laurel bushes nearby. "To M, my dearest love," Malvolio read aloud. "Though you are my servant, you are master of my heart. Be bold, and my hand is yours. If you love me, wear yellow tights, cross-gartered as a secret sign." Malvolio clutched the letter to his bosom. "Olivia loves me," he burbled. "I must change into yellow tights at once." As soon as Malvolio was out of sight, the laurel bushes began to shake with laughter. "I knew it would work," Sir Toby told Sir Andrew. "I can imitate my niece's handwriting well enough to deceive anybody." "Now all we have to do is—" "Hush!" said Sir Andrew. "Someone is coming." Olivia and Viola were deep in conversation. They stopped in front of a bank of laurel bushes, and Viola said, "Then you have no new answer for the Duke?" "No," said Olivia, clutching Viola's hand. "But there are answers I would give to you, Cesario, if you would only ask me the questions." Viola gently took her hand away. "My lady, I am not all that I seem to be," she said tactfully. "But I love you," exclaimed Olivia. "I loved you from the first moment I set eyes on you." "You might as well love a dream," Viola said. "You must forget me, my lady," and she slipped away, leaving Olivia in tears. In the bushes, Sir Andrew quivered with rage. "That chit of a youth has stolen Olivia's love," he hissed. "After him," urged Sir Toby. "Challenge him to a duel. That should see him off." "A duel?" said Sir Andrew, alarmed. "He won't dare to fight you," said Sir Toby. "That Cesario is nothing but a puny milksop. He'll turn tail and run the moment you draw your sword." While Sir Andrew went to waylay Viola at the garden gate, Olivia stumbled towards the house, her eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Cesario," she whispered, "I must see you again, if only for a second." Then she saw Malvolio walking towards her. He was wearing yellow tights as bright as canaries, and his face was stretched into a ghastly smile. "Well met, my angel," he simpered. "Malvolio," said Olivia. "Are you feeling quite well?" "Never better, my sweetness," Malvolio purred, stretching out his leg. "Have you noticed my yellow tights and cross garters?" "I could hardly miss them," Olivia replied. "I think the heat has made you feverish. Wouldn't you like to lie down?" "Yes, with you by my side," said Malvolio. "Help!" cried Olivia. "Servants, take Malvolio away. He has lost his wits." Meanwhile, Viola, relieved to be going back to her master, the Duke, suddenly found herself face to face with a furious Sir Andrew Aguecheek. "Draw your sword, vile scoundrel," snarled Sir Andrew. "My sword?" Viola quailed. "But why?" "So I can fight you," Sir Andrew said. "Or are you a coward as well as a villain?" Reluctantly, Viola reached for her sword with a trembling hand, and at the same moment, most fortunately, a loud voice shouted, "Stop!" A hefty sailor appeared through the gateway. "If you harm one hair of this young man's head," he warned Sir Andrew, "I'll carve you up like a joint of beef." "Oh," said Sir Andrew, pale with fear. Oh, well, in that case I think I'd better... And he ran away at an impressive speed. Viola felt weak with relief. "How can I ever thank you, kind stranger?" she said to the sailor. "Stranger?" scowled the sailor. "That's a fine thing to call the man who saved you from drowning and helped you to try and find your lost sister. I've been waiting for you at the inn down the road for the last 2 days, Sebastian." "Sebastian?" gasped Viola. "Then my brother is alive and well." Sebastian was alive and well, but totally bewildered. On his way to meet the sailor who had saved him, he happened to pass a fine house out of which rushed a beautiful red-haired young woman. "I knew you would come back, Cesario," she said, flinging her arms around him. "We cannot live without each other." "But, my lady," Sebastian said. "Call me Olivia, my dearest," said Olivia. Sebastian looked into Olivia's eyes. He was about to tell her that she had made a terrible mistake and that his name was not Cesario, but then his heart began to beat faster as love worked its magic on him. "This must be a dream," he said softly. "But please don't wake me up yet," and he hugged Olivia tightly. The two of them were still embracing when Viola and the sailor discovered them. Sebastian recognized his sister and ran to her with a joyous shout. He lifted Viola high into the air while Olivia and the sailor looked on open-mouthed. "Are there 2 of him?" whispered Olivia. "I don't understand." "It seems so," said the sailor, scratching his head. "If you ask me, my lady, someone has a lot of explaining to do." Duke Orsino waited 2 anxious hours for Cesario to return, and at last he lost his patience. He called for his fastest horse and galloped to Olivia's house. In the hall he was met with the strangest sight. Cesario and Olivia arm in arm, and behind them a smiling priest holding a Bible. "Cesario!" Orsino thundered. "Release that lady." "This is not Cesario, my lord," Olivia beamed. "This is Sebastian, who will soon be my husband. If you seek the one you call Cesario, look behind you." Orsino turned and saw Viola wearing a dress that Olivia had lent her. She looked so lovely that she quite took Orsino's breath away, and he instantly fell head over heels in love with her. "If you take my advice, you'll marry her straight away," Olivia told the Duke. "She loves you with all her heart. And now I see her as her rightful self." "I love her with all mine," Orsino declared. And so there was a double wedding in the house of Countess Olivia, and that night the windows were bright with lights, and the air was filled with the sounds of music and celebration. The laughter and singing ran through the house and reached the ears of Malvolio, who had been locked in the cellar. He pressed his face against the bars of the window and called out, "Hello! Hello! Let me out, someone! I am not mad, truly I am not." But nobody heard him. Not that night.